See where we're at. Okay, so there we are there. There's our material. And I'm just wondering, my tool paths, are they all set right? 4 short cam clamps, lasered. Let's just recalculate everything. All tool paths calculated exactly right. And let's just look at our material sheet and see where our, I'm going to edit that and see where our lowers. Okay, it's sent off off the center and the lower instead of the lower left. If I go off the center, then that basically lets me use all the material there. So in this case, I want it to go off of that lower left, and we're going to click OK and say yes. And then it's recalculated, and we'll save our tool pass and go over here, next wave, save tool pass, and I'm going to go and file, exit. Okay, let's go out and laser that thing. All right, just added some little tool pass to my CNC tools on this USB. I leave it out here in that little slot right there. That one has things that I make quickly, keyholes, slots, flattening the jig boards, basically cutting toggles with the router, cutting toggles with the laser, and quite a few other things that I just, I don't have to go back and program. They're already preset. I just load this up, cut it, and cut it. And in this case, I'm going to load the router up. This last week, I put in this little device here and this little guy right here on the router so that I wasn't going to be wallering this little plug in and out all the time. And you go pulling up on that thing enough, you're going to pull them wires out of the slot. So I added that into this, and so I'm going to go ahead and get that mounted up there. It just plugs into that little dust-proof coupler, and let's get it mounted up there. You can see I've got my grate on here, the grid for. I'm going to, take some of this quarter-inch plywood and make me some new toggles. So let's get that all set up real quick. Well, I was just putting this on there. I barely bumped that, and my laser board is just sliding around because it's on this metal thing. I thought, you know what? I've addressed this already one time, so let me go get this. So let me show you how I jig this to where it doesn't move around. It always stays put. And let me just show you that real quick. All right, this is my waste board or my spool board. These are my 2 jig boards. And what I have is this is bolted down to the table with nylon bolts. There's like 9 of them in here. And then this piece of particle board is glued to this MDF with wood glue. So these are bonded together, and what this does is gives you a very neat, flat, right on the spot, flat for V-carving. It's great. And what I do is I just run screws and I run pin nails down into this. And then when it gets totally chopped up, I just pop it up with a screwdriver and pull the little pin nails out of it. And what I use is this little guy right here. It's a 23 gauge pin nail by Milwaukee. I've had it for going on a year and a half. And I have a whole bunch of pin nails for it. And these are cheap enough. I mean, they're inexpensive. They're like staples. I mean, they're cheap. And they're 23 gauge, and there really is not a whole lot to them. I've got different sizes from 1/2 inch to 3/4 to 5/8 to inch, 1.25 inch, and I think it might go up to 1 3/8 inches. Not real sure. I think that's what that measures. Anyway, it's idiot proof. You just stick them in there. It won't shoot. If it runs out, it doesn't fire. So you always know you got a good adhesion to it, and it'll shoot like 700 staples on one charge. So very efficient. And this is my primary key to doing this. And what's nice about this is it doesn't. If the carbide cutters hit these pins, it makes no difference. And after I shoot a bunch of them in there, and even if they break off in there, just tap them down with a hammer or the pliers. I do keep these handy for pulling them out with. Sometimes the needle nose work better, depending on what length of pins I'm using. But anyway, to get this thing to jig up, I just take this little guy right here and slide it in there. And I have, I don't know, 20 or 30 of these templates made out of this 1/4" Luan. And what I do is I just line it up with the front and the side, and I shoot some pins in it. And I just put pins in where I need it, and that locks in my spoil board so that it doesn't move around. So let me shoot a few pins in that, line it up, and get that done, and then drop the thing in it. All right. All you do to load these pin nails in, I'm just shooting a 1/2 inch. You put the arrows down in there and push that in there, and you just slide this up, and it clicks, and it locks in. Out of a 1.5 years, I've only had that jam twice, and that was just as simple as pulling a couple of them out, and those right there, and it would basically release it. That's a depth setting on it, but I really don't ever use it too much. It's always just keeps it plumb and ready to go. So let me plunge that up and get that leveled up and get her done. Okay, the shear force of that is locked in. I mean, you can see I'm rattling the table back and forth. So it's locked in. I only put like 10 of these little 1/2 inch pin nails in there. So it's locked in. It's went into the 1/4 inch spoil board and waste board. So if I do laser through this and it gets hot, you know, really who cares about it? So anyway, let me put this thing back on there. And of course it's got the metal thing on the bottom. I'm going to slip that all in there, and it'll just drop in there. You notice the back part of it's not stable down. I could care less, because all this is to keep this from moving around. So when I'm putting stuff in and on off of my laser, it's going to stay put exactly where I want it to go. All right, the cool thing about this is whenever they send you these things, they put a cheapo foot on it, and it falls off, and you misplace one of them. So then you got a rocking grate board that's rocking back and forth, which really bugs me. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and put a shim in there with a piece of plywood, and just shim it a piece on both sides on the corner, hold it in there straight, and let me get that done. All right, quick stop over to the scrap bin, cut me a couple pieces of 1/4 inch ply, and I just ran some regular wood glue down through there, and then hit it with the pin nails, the same pin nails I used to tie this down. By the time I get done with this, that'll be all glued to that just perfectly. I have it where it's right next to that, so it'll just drop in, drop out, and it's up. I've got it up against the brads so that it has room for it to fit. All right, then I've got my next piece in there and getting ready to laser. Nice thing about the Shark is it uses the center of the router bit even for the laser module, and I've zeroed this in with that. I'm going to go ahead and raise this up, get it up plenty high above the material so I don't have to worry about it hitting it, and then I'll zero in my home, hit 0, and click set, and we'll click OK. And so basically I'm at all zeros right there. That's the height of that. I'll move this back and set it off the top of the material now with a gauge. Well, that's one long bit. And so when I drop my laser down, this is only be about a 1/16 of an inch above the material, so I'm going to pull the long bit out of there. I don't want to break my bit. Let me just put a 1/8 inch, or I don't have to put anything in there, but I'll put just a V bit in there just to give us the Z part of that, and it'll be short enough so it'll work. All right, I've got my gauge in there. I've got my bit up high enough to where it's not going to hit. This is perfectly gauged for the top of the material, and so I shouldn't have any run-ins. And then basically this is all set at 0, pick it up, get that out of the way, hang it back over here where it's nice and convenient, and there are my tools. They hang there conveniently for me, and it's ready to laser. Turn on the air assist. I did move my air assist out here because this doesn't turn on by just automatically. You have to switch that off and on each time. So if you're thinking of putting down a switch, it wouldn't work. And we'll do that. Okay, so I'm ready to run the laser. Got air assist on. Let's go ahead and load up the USB deal, and it says cam clamps. So let me go over here. I'm going to get a pencil in there just so that I can hit that in the right spot. And then there's cam clamps, 1/4 inch thick wood. And let's see here, cam clamps laser. Let's go to the cam clamps laser if that's what we're getting. I have 4 short cam clamps laser in here, and that's the one I want. So I want to hit that. It tells me my material is 6x6. So let me double check that that's what it is. Get the old tape measure out. Of course, it is showing 6 on this deal here. So it should fit on there just fine. So let's go ahead and run it. And we'll click next. All right. And of course it's going to tell me to put on my glasses. So let me get my glasses out, put them on so we can watch that. And we'll be good to go. Put that in there. Don my safety glasses. Sorry about that. Okay. And we'll click OK. Click start. Stop. Okay. So what's funny about that is, did I change my zero position? No. I had it set for right here. So let me go up. Go back and set it. And okay. So basically, on my template, on my Z's, I have those sitting inside the edge of the board. So let me go change that so that it will go right off the edge of the board and not have the border over there. All right. I've got this set for cutting out, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the exhaust because it will fill this garage up with lots of smoke. As you can see it coming off there. So let's close the hood. And it'll go around here and it'll cut these out. Now these little CNC clamps all have the short handle on them. And the ones that I normally use are right here. And I made these out of the 1/4-inch plywood, and they were lasered, as you see the burn edge. And I reinforced them with a fender washer, a brass fender washer. But anyway, this little straight edge that's right here in the very bottom, I line that up with the edge of the material so that I can overlay it. And it works good for that thing, because you can overlay, you put your piece of material in here and then it can overlay over the top of it, so you can get your material in, because this is, your shim would be at the top and this goes there, and then when you close it, it holds the material down, and when you open it, it allows you to lift your material out. So I'm using that concept quite a bit nowadays with the pin nails, and we'll just see how this thing's working. And I have it locked in on its Z, so if I do pick it up and check it, I can put it right back down, and it will cut out the other one on that. But generally you can tell by the way they look if they've dropped. If they haven't dropped, then you know you're not cutting them. And I think I have this at 90% power and move speed of like 10, if I remember right. So it's taking its sweet time, and you notice the Z didn't go up and down, it's set about right. We'll find out if it's going to burn through that or not. Again, this is 90% with move speed of 10. All I got to do is, if I want it to cut a little deeper, smooth that down to about 60%, and it will cut it out. So we'll just see if it's going to fit. I just wanted to kind of look at one of these toggles to see what they would look like. And you know, it's kind of funny, whenever that went over there to the left, and I was sitting there thinking of you know, these guys put a lot of the time in these spoil boards. You know, you put 100 inserts in it, you drill all them holes in it, and then when you do a snafu, I'm pretty sharp, but I do make mistakes, and I don't know anybody yet that doesn't make some kind of mistake from time to time. So even with a perfect board, I just consider it, you know, something that I'm going to cut into at some point or another. So that's why I don't put much time into it, other than grab a, you know, an extra piece of plywood. And I have a whole bunch of plywood that I've bought for jigs and, you know, things like that. And that's all 1/4-inch plywood. Some of it's better than the other. Some of it's as cheap as you can get. And that's either my, you know, jig boards, or it's my waste board. And it's 1/4-inch. And, you know, I can V-carve on it, the whole works, because it stays flat to the table. All I got to do is just put the pin nails in it. And then when you're done cutting it to pieces, you can pry it up. A lot of times you can just, you know, turn it over and flip it upside down, because, you know, all you need is a decent cover. Okay, that's done. Let's have a look at it. All right, I put another one in there. Let's look at what we got. It didn't really feel, I mean, these popped out, but they left me a little junk on the back side of them. and some of them were clean. Let's go here and lay them out here on this right here so we can see what they look like. Not very good contrasting, but you know, they're basically clean. Now you take your finger and clean them off there, so they wouldn't take much to clean it. Of course, that marks the hole where the screw goes and for the toggle. And it's a good idea to hit these with denatured alcohol because they will give you black. And you know, just wipe them off of that so they'll be good to go. Probably wait till I get about 12 of them ready to go and then go. This allows me to toggle these where I put them against my work and toggle them, as I was talking about earlier. Let's just say this is the piece that I was wanting to toggle or to work on. And I put a spacer in there, and then I can sit there and toggle. And let me just get a piece of straight wood. There we go. So this is the wood that you're doing. I have a spacer board that's here. That's just right your hair under the thickness of this. And then I'll take these and put them right there next to it. Run a screw down through there, and if it needs to come up just a hair, I'll put a washer on it. You know, if it needs to come up, and then when I turn it, it'll sit there and lock that piece and hold it down. And then I can turn it this way, and then I can lift the piece out. So, and this is with a 1/4 inch. What it's holding it down is I've cut these my projects the size of my wood blanks, and that fits in that 1/4 inch template, and which is tacked down and not moving. And then these little guys with the spacer boards are put in there, and you know, gotta hold it down. You need to put your toggle. And the reason I'm going with some shorter ones is because sometimes the reach of them is a little long, and they'll get interfering with each other. So some of the little projects I need some little shorter ones. So there you go. Let's go over here and have a look at this guy right here. He's still going. Moved him out at 80% speed. Been running for 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So he's going to town, and of course, bending to the outside. And it's a hot day or a cold day today. It's like 28 degrees outside. Wind chill's down in the teens, so it's a little chilly. So I am sucking the heat out of my garage by doing it this way. But then again, I'm not smelling the smoke, and so, you know, as soon as that's on, I can go right over here and kick that dowel up that's going in that box, just push it up, and then it'll redirect the heat right back into here if I was doing some CNCing. But since I'm doing lasering and I don't want to smell the smoke, I just bend it outside. So, and then as it's going outside, I have a convenient crack that's right there by the bottom of my garage door, that if you put your hand down in there, you can feel the cool air being pulled in from outside right through in there. So that's my fresh air intake going on that. Whenever I'm using this and it's venting back into the room, this is my fresh air intake here. So, you know, it's still going in there, and of course it's taking air in through here from the room as well and venting it outside. So it comes in through the through the garage, then eventually comes up to here and then goes outside through the hose and is vented outside. So there we have it. We'll see how these are. I'm going to go ahead and burn the rest of these in. I may go ahead and do some dowels and cut up some dowels for future projects. All right, carved out a bunch of them. There's probably 16 or so in there, and yeah, so there they are. And you know, I wiped them down with acetone, or not acetone, but denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol, whatever you want to call it. Clean off the black. If you don't, your hands will just be black like you've been handling firewood. While I was out here today, I put a little lacquer on one of my 3D carved signs for our Royal Rangers. We got a Christmas party tomorrow night, so I'll bring that in as a white elephant gift, and lots of fun. So anyway, these came out fine. They're again with the toggle set up, and I explained it earlier, but basically I may get into jigging that up a little bit more tomorrow, just to show you how I use that. But anyway, so we'll get together. It's about 6 o'clock, and we'll get on to the next show.